top of our news headlines for tonight is the change of government since Andy Burnham has come in as Prime Minister and has done a bit of reshuffling. And we are still trying to figure out what is good and what is bad about the reshuffle, aren't we, Alison?
Yeah, we are. There's some interesting faces in there. This is the second time that Lucy's taken a job from Bridget, isn't it? So that must sting. But the chap second from the right, we think is going to be the man who oversees home education. His name is Paul Waugh, and you might recognise his face because he used to be a journalist on the BBC. He used to do the Week in Westminster, if anybody watched that. We're going to be keeping an eye on him, and he will be open to a lot of criticism from people like me if he doesn't scrutinise properly, because in his history, he has been a commentator and a critic of government. And I would be happy if I saw him being a little bit critical or having some professional curiosity about some of the decisions that are being made. It would be nice to see some evidence of that, because quite frankly, he doesn't have any qualifications in education. A number of the other ones are ex-teachers, but this guy has no skin in the game.
Yeah, and I think it will be very interesting. That journalistic background certainly does kind of stir things up a little bit. So, of course, we've got Jackie Smith still continuing in the House of Lords, as far as I know, so House of Lords. And we don't know exactly yet what Josh McAllister is going to be doing.
Or Georgia Gould. Georgia Gould's staying as Children and Families Minister, I think.
Yeah, so we don't expect there to be much change. Let's just first put that out there. We don't expect that there's going to be any magic that's going to happen. It's just whether there might be some softening on an approach or hardening of an approach. We don't know. And so we do need to keep an eye on this. We do suggest going and following some of these people on their Facebook pages and so on, so that you can keep an eye on what's being said, and also by following them, maybe get the right to comment as well. We'll see if that commenting gets turned off or not. But certainly it's been pleasant this week to not have to deal with too much of the usual propaganda machine. So that's been a bit of a relief. That's been pleasant. So I don't want to say too much more about that. Obviously, the budget, they have this huge social media budget or marketing budget, which many of us don't feel was being wisely spent. So maybe that will change.
Well, they put a couple of things out already. They put a social media post about when the Secretary of State arrived at Sanctuary Buildings and said hello to the staff and things like that. You do have to feel a little bit sorry for civil servants, because every time there's a change of minister, that minister wants to stamp their mark on whatever. And the thing that Lucy Powell's already said, of course, is that she doesn't agree with the spelling tests that are done with very young children. That's a positive thing that she said, but we don't expect anything else to change, not least because it's already in motion. You don't get a new Secretary of State and they overturn something that's already an act of Parliament. That is not going to happen. So let's just see how her input it changes the way that maybe the guidance is written or something like that.
Yeah, that it certainly makes for interesting times. So do keep an eye on that. Do make sure that you are kept updated on what's happening with these appointments and so on. So what's up next then? Defend Digital Me. They've done a brilliant blog article, a little bit above my head, but certainly a very in-depth article, all to do with the direction in which things have gone over the years in terms of our data and how data is shared and who holds the data. It's a very long article, but if you want to really kind of try and understand exactly where we are at now, from when this website, Defend Digital Me, was started in 2014, and it starts off saying they've seen a turnover of 21 secretaries of state, 10 in education and 11 in technology. That's a lot of bodies coming in and out of positions. But just go and have a good look at this article. I don't know, Alison, if you've had a chance to look at it. But
Not yet, but it's quite thorough. I've skimmed over it. It's very thorough.
It's very in-depth. It also shows like which data falls under which sort of departments, or like, so Lucy Powell, what falls under her, what falls under Lisa Nandy, what falls under Jonathan Reynolds, Kanishka Narayan. It's an incredibly in-depth article. So if you have got a mind for really wanting to know more about how data is shared, how our information is shared, you might want to get your teeth stuck into this one. But it shows the direction of travel in tiny little increments, how things have changed over the years, and to understand where we are at now and why we need to be so on top of this, why we need to be informed and make sure that others are informed. Because it's this whole thing that where families and children and parents will not actually have control over where their data is shared. This is the thing that we have to be concerned about, is that we lose control of the sharing of data.
It's also about this idea that because they are creating a digital ID for children, a unique identifier. Well, they call it a unique identifier. We know it's a digital ID. Unique identifier for children, that by the time those children become adults, they will already have a digital ID. So it doesn't matter if it doesn't work for all the adults right now. Once our children become adults, they will automatically have that digital ID.
And that digital ID means tracking everything that you do.
It does. It does. It means attaching all of the bits of information that they have about you to that unique identifier. So what you've got to imagine is there's probably 1,000 people in the country called John Smith. So in order to tell the difference between John Smith who lives in Brighton and John Smith who lives in Croydon, you need to use the unique identifier to identify that person, because their date of birth might be the same as well. So date of birth and name is not enough. That's why they brought in the unique identifier, but then it enables them to attach these bits of information. And it's how much information your file has in it that's really important and that we need to keep an eye on.
And what information. If you scroll down a bit, there's something that I think is quite helpful. Some ideas that you could write to Lucy Powell and say, this is what we would like to see. There's 10 asks for Lucy Powell, and then there's 8 asks for Lisa Nandy at Culture, Media and Sport. And then things that you could ask of Jonathan Reynolds and Kanishka Narayan at the Cabinet Office. So there's some things that you could actually put in an email to Lucy Powell or to your MP to ask Lucy Powell. But just bear in mind, these lovely MPs are also on their recess at the moment, so you're not going to necessarily get responses at the moment, but just something to perhaps consider or have ready to send once Parliament resumes. But very, very important article. You can see there's a huge amount of work gone into it. Somebody's gone and done all this work for us. Go and have a look. Do yourself a favor. Educate yourself on what is happening with our data right now, what we're looking at, and where this is potentially headed. Then next we have a reminder that we have our Crowd Justice fundraiser for this judicial review. I'm as bad as you losing words at the moment. Yes. Judicial review, which is being fronted by Sarah Bahrain. And we had last Saturday, we had a live broadcast for 3 hours, which you can find a link to on the Home Education Action Group, the Fix the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act, and on our YouTube channel, which is called the Home Education Channel. You can find that entire live broadcast, which was publicizing this judicial review and the crowdfunder. We had Michael Charles pop in, we had Sarah Bahrain pop in, and we had some other guests as well talk about the importance of it. And we managed to at least push this the amount up. So we were at about 33,500 at the start last Saturday, and we're up to 33,924. So we need to continue with pushing this, please, and think about ways in which you can build up this fund. So you can either reach into your own pocket and make a donation instead of buying a cup of coffee at Starbucks, maybe also including what you pay for the cheeky brownie at Starbucks. maybe do that.
That'd bring it up to about 10 quid, yeah.
There you go. Or organize a little fundraiser. Speak to your home ed group. Maybe organize something together and do a fundraiser with maybe 50% of those funds going to your group and 50% going to the Crowd Justice Fund. But we need to see this fund grow, because we don't know how long this battle is going to take, how far it's going to go. And we need to make sure that there is a tidy lump of money that will back this judicial review, so it can go all the way as far as it needs to go, because this judicial review has implications for all of us. It's about the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act and how it will reduce our rights to family life. It's a very, very important legal challenge, and we want to put everything behind it to support Sarah and Michael Charles, who is acting on her behalf. Michael Charles has also called for co-claimants. Now, by co-claimants, we are looking for people, so you can read it there. So basically, we are looking for people's stories, not gripes or moans about the bill or the act or anything like that, but we're looking for actual stories. And there's some examples of the kind of stories. Say, for instance, your child attends a special school and you are seriously considering withdrawing them now because you fear that once the act comes into force, you may effectively become locked into that placement. You've got other examples. Your child is currently benefiting from a special school, but you want to keep the option open to home educate in the future. And you're concerned that the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act will remove that option from you.
Can I just say that number 2, as the person who runs the Flexi Schooling Group, who owns the Flexi Schooling Group, what they mean by part-time school and part-time home education, that should actually say Flexi Schooling, not part-time school and part-time home education. So if you are Flexi Schooling right now and you think that that's under threat because of the Act, that would be, again, a really good example, especially if you're flexi schooling with a special school. You have to fit these criteria precisely, by the way. Don't just have a vague thing about.
You need to have really thought about it, and you really need to have an idea of why you want to be a co-claimant here. What would you benefit? How would you benefit from this judicial review if it was successful? How are you penalized or disadvantaged by this Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act because of your circumstances?
Yeah.
So they've
more importantly, how is the Act going to damage your child or your child's prospects in the future? Should something very minor change and you have to start home educating or something like that. That's where he's coming from here.
Yes, because
it's about the reduction of choice, isn't it?
Yes, because we're particularly looking at the current, the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act wants to put 2 things in place, or it has already got it, but it's not implemented yet. And that is that if your child is in a special school, you have to get consent from your local authority. And if your child is under investigation under Section 47 Child Protection Inquiry, that or has been in the last 5 years, that you could be impacted if you wanted to home educate. That right to home educate, you may find it will not exist for you anymore. So this judicial review.
Been on a plan, isn't it? If you've been on a plan, not just had an inquiry.
Well, it's Michael Charles says if you've been the subject of a Section 47 Child Protection Inquiry, including where that arose because your child or family were victims of domestic abuse or other circumstances. So what we need to show is that how this Section 47, you can't have a blanket ban or force people in a blanket fashion to get consent, because sometimes the reason they're under a Section 47 investigation has nothing to do with the parent.
We're especially looking for anybody out there who's had a Section 47 child protection process gone on because something's happened at the school. Yeah. So that would be the ideal candidate for this, where something's happened at the school. They've had a Section 47 inquiry. They've removed the child from the school to protect them. How would that have gone badly wrong if the Act had been in place when that happened to you? that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And this is looking at circumstances that would impede your right to make these
Yes.
choices for your children.
Yes.
The Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act is looking to make that not an automatic right to home educate. So this is particularly about children in special school or receiving EOTIS or Section 47, those kinds of things. If you think that you are a person with a story like that, where you may want to make use of that right in future, but this act would prevent it, you can email your story, and we are looking for stories. You can email to Michael Charles's assistant. If you have a general gripe about the bill or the act, this is not the way you do this. If you're not putting yourself forward as a co-claimant with a story that is specific under in terms of special school or EOTIS, flexi schooling, or Section 47, those circumstances we described, if you are not one of those and you just are unhappy about the act and you want to complain to your MP, complain on social media, complain on Lucy Powell's page, whatever, that's the place to do it, or on Twitter. But if you specifically want to be a co-claimant in this case, and you have a story as described here, then you can email Michael Charles's assistant with your story.
Yes, who's called Abigail Hirsch. It's Abigail Hirsch.
She's going to share it's shared in comments. The post is shared in comments, and if you go on the post, you will be able to see the email address that you can email if you're one of these people. So please, that would be extremely helpful to the case if we can show more examples of how this would reduce family rights. I hope that's clear enough, and it's quite a finessed argument, which makes it quite hard to explain in a live like this.
The issue is that judicial reviews are tricky, and in order to get it right, as can be shown by the Portsmouth case, and as can be shown, that you have to try and make it work as easily as possible. You want to make it blindingly obvious to the judge that the process is causing harm or is likely to cause harm. In order to do that, we have to have really, really good clear-cut cases.
Yes.
And that's why we need these co-claimants to pad out, to back up the story that's being told about Sarah Boraine already. We need that sort of, it's backing up. It's like getting your additional evidence, isn't it?
Yes, yes. We have a question about what the updates are on the new law.
There aren't any.
Yeah, there aren't any. The new law, the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act has been passed, but there's no updates as that affect us as home educators in terms of how that's going to be implemented.
Basically, what has to happen now, Rebecca, is that they have to create guidance. And this is what we were saying about it being skeleton legislation before. In order to make all the things work in the act that they have passed, they now have to add secondary legislation. So an example of secondary legislation is our current pupil registration regulations. That's the bit that says how you deregister from school. That's the bit that says about mechanisms and stuff. So you've got the allowed bits in the Act, and then the mechanisms for those allowed bits or those enforced bits go into secondary legislation and guidance. And that's the bits that have to be written. So nothing is going to change until probably, a couple of bits will change during the year, but the majority of the things will not change until about September 2027. So there's a lot of work to do. So what you need to do is you need to look out for when there becomes a consultation on guidance. That's the next thing that we will be campaigning about in a big way, will be to make sure that as many people as possible respond to the consultation on guidance, which is not out yet. The only consultation that's out that's of any relevance at the moment is one on education other than in school, which is out right now, and that finishes at the beginning of September. That's the only consultation that's live right now. But there will be some more September, October, November.
We are probably going to be taking a few weeks off from doing the lives. If anything of huge importance comes up, we will definitely make sure that everyone is aware, and we may pop in to do another live during the summer holidays. But we're going to take a little break as well, so that we get our Friday evenings back. And Alison wants to say something.
If anyone is going to the Home Educators Family Festival, Juliet will be there, I will be there, loads of us will be there as well. We might even do a live from there, just for the heck of it. But we will be there running. We've got a 6-day conference, and we've got people coming from the Open University. We've got people coming. We've got Hannah Han from Instagram coming. We've got quite a few different people coming that are going to be talking about helping your child be the best that they can, they're being their best self. So it's really worth. There's a few tickets left to the festival.
Yes, I think you've got till the end of the month as well to book. I think bookings close on the 31st of July. So this is HEFF, HEFF, Home Educating Families Festival.
Yeah,
you can find it online. Well worth going to if you fancy camping out and meeting hundreds of other home educators in one place.
And then if in September you fancy going further afield, Juliet and I, again, we'll both be in Slovenia.
Yes, we'll be jetting off. We'll be jetting off to Slovenia at the end of September for the European Homeschoolers Conference. This is a family conference. So if you fancy a bit of world schooling, a taste of world schooling, or if you are a world schooler, this is a great event to come along to go and meet families from all over Europe. So that's towards the end of September. I can't remember.
Yeah, 21st and 24th or something like that.
Yeah, it's around
September.
there. But
yeah, it's absolutely terrific. Last year we were in Romania and we had such a great time. We learned so much from so many people in so many different countries, and the children that came had an absolute ball, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was good.
I'm trying to see if I can find the link.
21st to the 25th of September.
That's right. And that's in Slovenia. And it should be a really lovely event and something very special. It's a family conference. You can bring your children. There'll be activities for your children as well. Please think about that. And
it's not expensive.
No,
it's not expensive, and the accommodation's not expensive either. So it's not. We try and make it as cheap as chips as far as possible.
Yeah, you can so even camp. If you fancy camping, you can sort out a campsite at the campsite nearby as well. So. Okay, well, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a lovely summer. We hopefully won't need to see you for a few weeks, but have a great summer and keep looking at ways in which you can do your bit to inform and increase awareness, particularly of the crowdfund at the moment. Share that as much as you can, and remember to get some money for us in that Crowd Justice Fund. Don't let that go to sleep over the summer. We don't want that happening. So thank you very much.
Folks.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.
Bye-bye.